Hello there, good afternoon. Firstly, it's slightly later than normal. I do apologise. I'm sorry to everybody who normally watches me live, who obviously might miss me because it's a slightly different time today. And hi to anybody who catches this live who isn't normally able to see me because it's at an inconvenient time. So apologies, not apologies in that order. Yes, had a bit of a nightmare these past couple of days. I won't bore you with it, but thankfully it is all resolved. But it just means that on to plan. But hey ho, whose life does. So today, Thursday Truths. Today I've got a really interesting topic to talk about. I read I was going to say in the newspaper, but in the online newspaper earlier today that the policy to give female employees menstrual leave at work has been introduced and is being quite well taken up in Australia. It's not happened in the UK, this is in Australia. And I just wondered what your guys' take on such a policy was. Whether you thought it was a good thing or whether you thought it was a bad thing. My initial reactions were mixed, if I'm honest. I did start off by thinking, oh, that's good. But then when I sat down and mulled it over, I'm not sure it is good. And here's my thinking. So my initial reaction in terms of that's good came from a place where I remember having to take a lot of time off work for my endometriosis. So even before I knew it was endometriosis, missing lectures and things at university, and then missing time at work for pain largely because, and I know a lot of my clients feel the same, you kind of don't feel you can take time off work for the fatigue and the bloating because they're kind of things that our psyche is telling us we can just get on with. But the pain is the primary thing that we take sick time off work. So it would have been a relief to me to know that there was a policy in place that meant that I could actually have time off at that time of the month for things that were going on. However, I don't necessarily want to take time off. A policy for me that would have meant that I could work from home, or maybe that just allowed me a bit more flexibility, would have suited me better. Having said that, it is good. I'll go back to my original point. It is good that it's being recognised and that people who are really struggling can take time off. In the UK, we have the Disability Discrimination Act, or whatever it's been superseded by. Endometriosis does fall under that. It's classed as a disability because it's a long-term condition with little chance of clearing up completely, even if it comes and goes, little chance of it clearing up completely, and it impacts on daily life. So theoretically, we already have this in the UK, but the thing that this policy does is try to end the stigma. So it starts to become acceptable for women to say, actually, I'm going to have to work a little bit differently for these days every month or however, because of my menstrual cycle. There are issues then that crop up about, well, what about the women who aren't menstruating? What about transgender women? And all of those kind of things arise as well. So it could be divisive. It could cause more issues in some workplaces than it solves. But their aim is to normalise conversations about menstruation so that you can stand up and say, look, I've got a really bad headache, I'm going to go home. You can stand up and say, look, I'm having a really bad period, I can go home. And the same level of stigma is attached. My main issue with this is that in normalising having to take time off for work, they are normalising the fact that people's periods are horrible, that the pain is at a level where they can't work, that other symptoms are going on that means they can't work. That's not normal. A period, a menstrual cycle, should not bring that amount of pain to your body. It shouldn't bring fatigue. It shouldn't bring all the other things that this policy has been designed to help women with. So my issue with it is that, yes, okay, you're normalising talking about menstruation, but you're actually normalising it in quite a negative way. So you're normalising things that shouldn't be normalised. People should be supported. So fair enough, if you have to take time off because you have something like endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, anything like that, and you have to take time off work, then get that employer to support them to get the help that they need. So it's not just feeling like you have to take another day off work. Also, in terms of things like endometriosis, it's not just a case of, oh, it gets a bit, or not always just a case of, oh, it gets a bit painful every 2 days. Sometimes it's every day. So how is that going to be perceived? How are they going to end the stigma around that when they see other women taking 1 or 2 days leave a month and suddenly you're having to take 3 weeks leave a month? It doesn't actually help the problem, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely fine, normalise conversations about menstruation, but that's about education. That's about educating school kids, that's about educating girls at a young age and boys at a young age. That's about education. That's about open and honest conversation. And that needs to happen in so many different areas of life, not just sort of menstrual cycles, but also sexual health in terms of sort of sexual consent. All of those kind of conversations also need to happen. But in terms of taking time off for work, if you have a bad period, then yes, absolutely, open conversation needs to be had, but don't normalise it, because your period shouldn't be bad enough to warrant taking time off work. So I'd be really interested to know what you think. My head went through all of these thoughts and all of these emotions. I'm glad that it's kind of being recognised. I'm glad that it's being recognised that actually some people do have a problem with their cycle. That means that they can't work. However, having a blanket policy that's called menstrual leave, I think creates more issues than it solves. But I would be really, really interested to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching me. Apologies for the lateness of this again. Yes, I hope to see your comments later. Take care, guys. Have an awesome rest of the week.